What's up, guys? Tommy Boy here from Movie Rewind. Today I'm joined by MLC, and we will be discussing the casting of the 14th Doctor. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome back to our monthly discussions. This is a commitment I have been trying to make, and so far, fingers crossed, it has been made. I am once again joined by MLC. So,
Hello.
firstly, MLC, how have you been in the last
I've
month?
been alright. We've watched movies in the last month since the last discussion video. When I say I've watched movies, I've only watched Doctor Strange. I've watched it twice so far, and it's been really good. So I recommend you go out and see it. But though Tommy's not seen it yet, so we're not going to talk about spoilers. But yeah, that's my movie history. And I've also watched like Moon Knight on from the Disney Plus shows and a bunch of other things on TV and related series. I've not watched Casualty and Hellby City, though one of them has been cancelled, from what I've heard.
Well, yeah. We won't get into
I
that because
don't, I
that'll
don't
just
follow the channel that covers it. If I'm honest.
that'll just start me off. And what a great way to start this discussion! Really getting me below the belt there.
Right, well,
Anyway, speaking of Doctor Strange, we're moving on to the topic of another Doctor theme, and that is, of course, Doctor Who, which will be celebrating its 60th anniversary next year. And of course, everyone knew that Jodie Whittaker would be departing the role as the 13th Doctor, and Chris Chibnall, unfortunately, leaving as executive producer and showrunner. Now,
Aww.
if you've seen this channel before, you will know that I think Chris Chibnall is one of the worst things that has ever happened to Doctor Who in its history. And the ratings will show that. It's gone from 10 million at the start of his era to about 3 million views for Legend of the Sea Devils. I mean, I don't know if you saw Legend of the Sea Devils MLC, but it was
No,
atrociously just boring and bad.
I sort of given up on Jodie Whittaker's series. I've heard a lot about it, and I've talked to people about it, but yeah, in terms of me watching it, I've never really said, oh, how am I going to spend this evening? I want to spend it by regretting every decision of my life building up to this. So I've not really watched Doctor Who.
But anyway, we were given a boost. Doctor Who fans were given a boost because we learned that Russell T Davies would be returning as
Yeah,
executive producer and showrunner. Now, MLC, firstly, before we get into the 14th Doctor casting, I remember discussing this with you at the time. I think I shared the information with you, or at least like shared something to say that this has happened. Were you like excited about this news, or did you think it would be possible to persuade him to return to the show?
well, I mean, I was somewhat excited because Russell T Davies he's the essentially the new daddy of Doctor Who in a way, because he was the one who resurrected it and brought it back to such prominence, such the heights that it reached back in the era which he covered the show, that being through um 2005 till 2010, well technically 2009, but because his final episode aired on the first day of 2010, I
Yeah.
say he stayed till 2010 before he handed the reins off to Stephen Moffat. But yeah, he was responsible for putting Doctor Who up in the heights, and and launched it into what everyone has come to love and know. But when I heard the news, I was pretty excited. I was like, damn, I didn't expect it, but I was like, he's coming back. Maybe they're finally gonna bring back that magical Doctor Who that I miss and capture. But then part of me's like, oh, I mean, they got him back after some time to carry on Doctor Who, but like, is it going to be like a Phantom Menace when George Lucas comes back and
Oh yeah,
after
I
such,
I see what you mean.
yeah. So fingers crossed that, because Russell T Davies, he's still since he's done Doctor Who, has still continued to produce a lot of good stories, a lot of good TV shows. So hopefully he's still keeping that momentum. He's not lost touch with the TV, which it remains to be seen. But yeah, the news of Russell T Davies coming back was like, damn. Maybe
Mm,
I have a little bit of hope now that they will be able to bring Doctor Who back to its magical roots, its sci-fi roots that we've come to know and love.
yeah. And obviously, with Russell T Davis coming back, we all knew by this point that Jodie Whittaker would be leaving because apparently her and Chibnall made a 3-year deal, even though Chris Chibnall had a 5-year plan when he took over. So I don't know what happened to that. Obviously, it went out the window. But so there was a load of rumours, as there always is, about who the 14th Doctor could be, and some of them were big names. There was like Hugh Grant or Lenny Henry, Michael Sheen, and then some familiar names which appear on lists like this. There was like Chris Marshall, for example. He's been rumored to be the Doctor a couple of times. But I have to say, there was even some weird speculation that David Tennant would be
Yeah.
returning as the Now I have to admit that was the most absurd one. That would not happen. I'm sorry.
But
That
I was
he
like,
would not return to play the Doctor full time.
I wouldn't object. But I
No,
was like,
I
I
would.
wouldn't object.
I wouldn't object, but I thought it was quite obvious that that just wouldn't happen. I mean,
Yeah, from a
the
story point
thing
of
with
view,
Russ,
yeah.
yeah, the thing with Russell T Davies is he has to give us something different. He can't just go back to what he did before because we've seen that it was great, but that's been done. You do need to try something different. So I when this news was announced, because it was so low key, the announcement.
Yeah.
I was flicking through my YouTube subscriber tab and it just popped up on the BBC, just like this announcement. And
I was like, oh,
how do you pronounce the actor's name? I'm really
Shooty
trying not
Gatwa.
to say Shuti Gatwa. Okay, so when I saw this tab saying Shuti Gatwa, and I was like, oh, is this a new character in Doctor Who? And then it was like, no, this is the 14th Doctor. And I was like, really? That is so low key.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. When Doctors have been announced before, it's been like this massive deal because Doctor Who's an institution, isn't it? I mean, everyone knows about Doctor Who. So, MLC, were you surprised at how low key this announcement was?
Yeah, because it was just out of the blue at random. Because can you remember, like, all the previous Doctors, they've always teased and hyped up who's going to be the next Doctor. And the BBC even, like, you always do, like, a BBC Who's the Next Doctor BBC unveil
Yeah,
event and program usually, and like really hype it up
yeah,
for this big event where they finally unveil who's going to be the next Doctor. But the fact that how they announced it was like, yeah, it was like, is this a sign that how much Doctor Who's lost traction, that
yeah,
no one's really hyped? They don't feel like they need to put on a big event for the next Doctor because it's lost so much traction. I
yeah.
remember when
I mean,
finding out
it
who the
really,
next Doctor would be a big event, but yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I remember the video the BBC released when Jodie Whittaker took over. It was a massive, like, really suspenseful video of her taking off her cloak and then revealing who it was. And it, while I'm not a fan of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who at the time, it was like that's how you unveil the
yeah,
Doctor. It's supposed to be a big event, but this to me, this showed how little confidence the BBC have in Doctor Who as a program now. I mean, they really don't advertise it like they used to. I mean, Doctor Who is technically their flagship show. When it's a really expensive show to make, and it always airs at the weekend. It used to air on Saturday at prime time. Um, but at the moment, they seem to almost be ashamed of Doctor Who. Like
yeah,
they just don't know what to do with it, and that just makes you think: was Chris Chibnall's reign so bad for the show that it's just caused BBC to just have no confidence in it
yeah.
anymore?
I mean, in a way,
Um,
yes. They've not like done the big hype up announcements, but then again, the BBC doesn't know what they want because they did a fucking lazy, cheap announcement, but then their coverage all throughout the day because they announced on the day of the BAFTA TV Awards. So all
yeah,
throughout the ceremony and like on the BBC News show and everything, they were really trying to focus hard on this announcement,
yeah,
and especially the coverage at the BAFTAs. They're focusing heavily on shooting, and I remember watching they did an interview on at the BAFTA Awards with Russell T Davies and Shooty together, but it's like we're covering the BAFTAs, but they're really trying to put Shooty at the spotlight of the BAFTAs coverage and Russell T Davies as spotlight of the BAFTA coverage, even though they weren't nominated for any of
yeah,
the biggest roles like the Best Actor Award or the Best Writer Award, which that's not taken away from their own nominations and achievements. He was nominated for what was it? Was it the BAFTA he
sex.
was nominated for?
It weren't Sex Education, was it? Or no,
No.
that's what he's famous
God.
for, isn't it? I can't think what he was nominated for now.
Wasn't it
Um,
something like a best male comedy performance, something like that?
it could have been. To
Yeah.
be honest, I don't know. And speaking of not knowing, I had no idea who this actor was
No, I mean,
before it was announced
to
that,
be honest, me
you know.
either. I heard he was from the Netflix show Sex Education, which, to be fair, I know quite a lot of people who've watched who've watched the show, who love it. A lot of people who recommend that I watch it as well. Um,
Yeah.
but even speaking to people who watch Sex Education, they're like, they didn't quite recognize his name at first or who it was until they actually searched him up and find out, oh, it's him from that show. Oh, yeah. So it wasn't like, wow, they got the actor from Sex Education in Doctor Who. Wow, it's like, it wasn't that type of vibe I was getting, which is why the
Yeah, and
announcement was so weak, because no one knew. It was like, Doctor
no.
Who?
It weren't a recognizable. I feel like a low key announcement would work with a more recognizable name. Like if you saw like Hugh Grant was announced, that would be even low key a massive deal
Yeah,
because obviously everyone knows who Hugh Grant is. But saying about this actor, 'cause I've never seen Sex Education. I mean, he won a BAFTA for his portrayal in that show, so he's recognized as a really strong comedy actor. And being a comedy actor in a show like Doctor Who is not a bad thing. You need comedy, you need charisma in order to
oh yeah,
play this kind of character. And from what I've heard him say, he seems to care about this show.
yeah,
Like he has said about he wants to make it just as good as his predecessors did. Whereas when Jodie Whittaker was announced, there was a lot of how she didn't watch the show because a woman weren't playing the
yeah,
Doctor.
yeah.
So I feel like this actor has a bit more respect for the history of the show. And as I've
Oh
said,
yeah.
Doctor Who turns 60 next year. So you've got to have respect for those who followed it throughout those 60 years. Um, but with this actor, obviously, the reaction I would say has been typical when new Doctors are announced. It's been mixed. So MLC, do you think that there are just people out there who will not, who have just written off this show now and have just
Yeah,
said that it's just whoever plays it, the show has no long-term future by this point?
that is the thing. When you've let the show become what it's known as, and you've led it to it, and you've disappointed people so many times, eventually, people just lose interest and think, oh, right, am
Mm.
I just get? What's the point of following something if I'm just going to be disappointed again? Which a lot of Doctor Who fans have been, and I've been feeling that way for quite some time. So they're like, oh, do I finally give Doctor Who a chance again? But then again, last time I said that, I was let down again. So that sort of people have lost interest and lost hope in the franchise in a way just by the announcement, like we discussed, how much traction and general populace and interest that has been lost for this show, which is sad to
Mm.
see, because it's, of course, it's possible that they could really turn it around. It's really possible that they could do something different. Like they got a new showrunner, a new Doctor. In fact, even a new production company's taking over the reins to
Yeah.
produce Doctor Who as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complete new broom approach. It's just sweeping away everything
Yeah,
that came before and just starting afresh, which is something they definitely need to do at this moment. Now, obviously, the media coverage, especially from the BBC, has really what you'd expect from the
yeah.
BBC. It's been all about minor things like race.
They've been focusing
They've
heavily on
constantly, yeah,
on the two things of race and sexuality. That
yeah,
was the thing I was a bit weird. It's like, why are we focusing so heavy on the fact that, he played an LGBT character, and he's of this skin color? It's like, and the fact
yeah,
that they're really hammering hard on these things, instead of like saying, oh, Ncuti is an amazing actor, his performance was like really well
yeah,
regarded in this. They're focusing heavily on the labels, not the
yeah,
content of his performances and his acting career. I wanted to know a lot more about him as a person, not what we
yeah.
see on the outside, which is
No,
why I was pretty
yeah,
disappointed
exactly.
with the announcement, because it's like, oh, tell me about, let me know who's going to play the Doctor, not what he looks like, which is what the coverage
Exactly.
was really playing on.
Exactly, and that's typical narrow-minded BBC. Now he is the first. He is the first black actor to play
Yeah,
a full-time incarnation of the Doctor, and I congratulate him for that. He's not actually the first black Doctor to play an incarnation of the Doctor. Joe Martin portrayed the fugitive Doctor during the 13th Doctor's era.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fugitive Doctor, everyone's talked about it, how it rewrites Doctor Who lore and it's not very good. But saying that, Joe Martin, she was a regular in Holby City, fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen this actor in anything, so I can't comment on his acting abilities, and I can't comment on whether he's suited to this role. We won't know that until his first episode, or at least the next Jodie Whittaker episode, because when she regenerates, he will have a brief 1 minute, 2 minutes to kind of initially sell himself in that role. Now, if you hear from what Russell T Davies said, Russell T Davies has said he auditioned and straight away he was what they were looking for. So it weren't like Russell T Davies knew this actor and brought him in. I mean, Chris Chibnall had already worked with Jodie Whittaker on Broadchurch. That's why she got the part, because Chibnall already knew her. But that didn't seem to be what happened here. It looks like he was up against a number of actors, both male and female. And he was chosen because, according to Russell T Davies, he was the best actor for that role. So I am willing to trust Russell T Davies. I have no reason not to, because he did a decent job as showrunner last time, and since then, as you said, he's done loads of different things, and the majority of the shows he's done have been hits since then. But obviously, do you think the 14th Doctor as it is, were you shocked that it weren't a woman? Because obviously that was such a massive thing when Jodie Whittaker was announced, that it was the first woman, and now it seems like she's the outcast now. It's like 13 males and just one woman now. So were you surprised? Because were you surprised it weren't a woman?
No,
I'm gonna ask you just out straight.
To be honest, not so much. Yeah, that wasn't really a shock to me. It's like the next actor, they're going to change the gender of the Doctor again. So yeah, because they sort of put into Doctor Who canon that, you know, that Time Lords can change multiple genders in a way, but to be fair, it wasn't like I was expecting, they're definitely going to stick with a female actor who's going to play the next Doctor. They're going to stick down that route and double down hard on that. I didn't expect that. I thought with them changing the showrunner, Russell T Davies coming back, that, to be honest, I did expect that they would change back to another male actor. To be honest with you, I expect them not to stick with a female Doctor, if I'm honest.
Well, I was the total opposite. I thought they would stick with a female Doctor. I thought, as it was such a momentous change, I thought they would double down on trying to solidify that it was now a woman. But that's the fascinating thing about the Doctor. They can be portrayed by anyone. I mean, that's what they've done now. I mean, as I said, I've said in multiple videos, I had no problem whether the Doctor was played by a man, a woman, whether they were white, whether they were from an ethnic minority, whether they were a gay or straight actor. Because the Doctor Who is such a fluid character, it just mattered whether the actor could leave their mark on the show in a positive way. Because you can do anything with this role. Jodie Whittaker, I don't think grasped that. I mean, Jodie Whittaker was basically David Tennant. That's what she was trying to do. So this actor is not watching this show, this show. I'm not on a show. I'm getting above my station. This actor is not going to watch this video. But all I would say to him is just make the part your own. Don't copy your predecessors. Just try and put your own distinctive mark on it. And you know, some people are concerned that it's an unknown actor. Well, Matt Smith, no one had heard of Matt Smith before he was cast as the Doctor. So I don't even think it's about whether you're unknown or whether you're well established. It's just about who you are. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to ask you, MLC. Do you think Doctor Who can be saved now? Like, do you think the instruments are there to save this show? Because I feel like if Chibnall had stayed another year, it would have been cancelled. You know, it would. But do you think it can be saved now?
I don't actually know, because a lot of my thoughts of the show is that when I heard the announcement and everything, like, and that it's going to be a new season of Doctor Who where everything's going to be different, like, part of me has a little glimmer of hope, but even then I'm still a bit like, phased out and a bit fed up of Doctor Who at this rate. If I'm being honest with you, so it's not got me all hyped and excited for the future. Part of me has hope that it can come back and be a good show that I can sit down and choose to go out my way to enjoy. It can be something that I choose to put on a Saturday evening to relax and unwind instead of thinking, oh, let's see what they've done now. I want to be able to think, oh, Doctor Who this evening, yeah, like instead of just thinking, oh,
Yeah.
there's a Doctor Who this evening. Let's see if it's gotten any better. I just wanna, I so I don't have that big excitement, that big like hope and for it, but part of me then says on the side is like, it'd be nice though if I could enjoy that again the way I used to. But then part of me's like, but do I get all excited and hyped for it, and if they're just gonna let me down again at the same time, because of course, like me and a lot of other Doctor Who fans have had that feeling for quite some time. So it's a bit hard. Like they really need to really do something, actually really make it good. And if like the public reception is really what's going to do it for me at the moment, the build up to it's not, that will do absolutely nothing for my excitement for Doctor Who, if I'm honest. It's not going to change my thoughts, my opinions. The only thing that at this rate that's going to change it is the public perception, the opinions, what all the critics say, what the reviewers say, what the community says about this. And if people are saying, hang on, no, this is a change, this is actually really good, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I will check that out then. With still probably a little bit of hesitation. If I really enjoy that first episode and I thought, hang on, everyone that I've heard from are actually talking sense, then I'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's give it a chance. I'm actually back. Yeah. But until that moment happens, I'm just like,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's always nerve-wracking when a new Doctor takes over. Like when Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi took over, it was nerve-wracking. This one does add, because as I've said before, the Chibnall era is a historic low point for the show. I mean, there is, at least if you tuned in to the Russell T Davies era and the Stephen Moffat era, yeah, the episodes weren't always 10 out of 10, but majority of the time you could find enjoyment in them. There was just the odd bad episode. With the Chibnall stuff, even the decent episodes, you just kind of finish watching it and you're like, I've just wasted 50 minutes. Like there's nothing about the Chibnall era which really gets you invested. And even like I've said before, Series 13 was a marked improvement on Series 11 and Series 12. But the episodes in it would have been only average if it had been Series 1 or Series 2. So that really does show you how far the show has sunk since then. Now, Russell T Davies has already said 2023 is going to be a fantastic year, because that's when Series 14's going to be released. And obviously the 60th as well. Now, I think if Davis can knock it out the ballpark with the 60th, like if he can get all the Doctors to return and make a really strong 60th anniversary, then you will get the fan base back. I mean, it's the 60th. Anyone who's a Doctor Who fan out there will watch the 60th, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
And then, if the 60th is released before Series 14, and I don't know if it is or isn't, then you could get that audience back to watch Series 14. I mean, as you've said, until I've seen his first full-length episode, we won't know. I mean, let's face it, at the end of every Doctor's first episode so far, even Whittaker's first episode to an extent, there's been a moment where I've kind of said, that's the Doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that's what it takes. It would just take his first episode to say, that's the Doctor. If I haven't thought that by the end of his first episode, then I will be hesitant to continue. Yeah. I have to admit. But you know what? I'm feeling optimistic tonight. Yeah. I think Doctor Who could potentially survive this. I think it could, and I really do hope so. So I think that's going to really bring our discussion to an end. I really do hope you enjoyed this discussion. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe in order to receive greater, maybe even improved quality content in the future. Now, obviously, you know what? We by 2023, if we're still around, we might do a discussion on
Oh yeah, we should be
what's
reviewing. Yeah.
happened and whether we were right or wrong. So I look forward to that. I would like to thank MLC once again for
Yay.
joining us on a discussion. It's always a pleasure to have them in a video with us. Um, and of course, we will see you in another one. See
Bye
ya.
for now.